Welcome back to Strides to Solutions, where we explore the fascinating intersection of equestrian sport and cognitive science. I'm Esther Adams, and today we're taking a hard look at something the equestrian industry doesn't talk about enough: the cognitive reality facing professional horse trainers and instructors every single day. If you listened to our episode on First Level Test 1, you learned that writing just one dressage test engages sophisticated cognitive training involving executive function, working memory, bilateral coordination, error monitoring, and performance under pressure. That's one test, one horse, roughly 7 minutes. Now imagine you're a professional trainer riding 8, 10, 12 horses a day. What does that do to a human brain? Let's walk through what research tells us about cognitive load and see where this leads us in the real world of professional training. When we examined First Level Test 1, we saw how a single test taxes multiple cognitive systems simultaneously. Your working memory juggles spatial information, motor commands, performance monitoring, and horse feedback. Your error monitoring system, through the anterior cingulate cortex, constantly scans for deviations. Your executive function manages task switching, inhibitory control, and cognitive flexibility. Your bilateral coordination systems integrate complex motor patterns across brain hemispheres. Research shows cognitive load compounded throughout multiple rides, often with added complexity. Each horse has different training levels, behavioral patterns, physical challenges, and owner expectations. The cognitive load doesn't just add up, it compounds. Research on cognitive load shows us that when cognitive demands increase, motor performance suffers. We see reduced movement complexity, slower responses, increased errors, and athletes reverting to more basic movement patterns. The brain simply cannot maintain peak performance across multiple high demand cognitive tasks without degradation. Neuroscientists tell us attention operates like a finite resource. Elite athletes show superior working memory and attention control, but even they have limits. For trainers, each horse demands sustained attention across multiple channels: spatial processing for arena geometry, error detection for training progress, arousal management for both horse and rider safety, and bilateral coordination for effective communication. Research on attention switching shows us that every transition between attention targets costs cognitive resources, what researchers call switch costs. A trainer moving from a green horse requiring basic rhythm work to a Grand Prix horse needing collected movements isn't just changing horses, they're completely reorganizing their cognitive framework multiple times per day. Recent research on cumulative attention switching in experts shows that frequent task switching increases cognitive load and depletes attentional resources, leading to more errors and slower reaction times, especially under high workload conditions. By horse number 6 or 7, the cumulative switch costs and attention depletion start affecting performance quality. The trainer's error monitoring becomes less sensitive, their working memory capacity decreases, and their cognitive flexibility diminishes. What was effortless on the first horse of the day becomes increasingly effortful and potentially dangerous. Studies show that after errors occur, attention may become tunneled on the previous task, reducing accuracy and responsiveness on subsequent horses, a particularly concerning finding for trainers managing multiple animals. Research on performance under pressure revealed how competition activates the sympathetic nervous system and elevates stress hormones. For trainers, every ride carries evaluation pressure. From horse owners watching, show preparation deadlines, safety considerations, and professional reputation management. Elite athletes show more stable prefrontal cortex responses under pressure, but this stability requires recovery periods. Trainers often don't get adequate cognitive recovery between rides. The sympathetic nervous system stays activated across multiple horses, creating a state of chronic arousal that research shows impairs attention, working memory, and decision making. When stress hormones remain elevated throughout the day, The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive functions and self regulation, begins showing the variability patterns we see in less experienced athletes. This means even highly skilled trainers start experiencing performance decrements as cognitive load accumulates. Research on elite athletes shows they typically possess high conscientiousness, which includes strong discipline, organization, persistence, and goal orientation. These traits are linked to better planning, memory, and executive functioning. Elite athletes also show high extroversion, openness to experience, and notably low neuroticism, meaning they're less prone to anxiety, mood swings, and emotional instability, supporting resilience under pressure. However, even these psychological advantages that make great trainers also make them vulnerable to sustained cognitive demands. The very conscientiousness that drives them to maintain standards across multiple horses throughout the day can work against them when it prevents recognition of their own cognitive limits. The anterior cingulate cortex and frontal theta oscillations that enable rapid error detection and correction are highly sensitive to fatigue. Research shows these systems become less efficient under sustained cognitive load. For trainers, this creates a dangerous progression throughout the day. Early horses benefit from sharp error monitoring. The trainer catches subtle loss of rhythm, slight stiffness, or minor resistance immediately. By later horses, this error detection system is fatigued. Smaller deviations go unnoticed, corrections come later or not on time, and the quality of training sessions degrades. More concerning, safety relevant errors might not register as quickly. Research on error monitoring shows that when these systems are compromised, individuals require more time and cognitive effort to make behavioral adjustments. A trainer who could seamlessly correct a horse's balance issue in the morning might struggle with the same correction in the afternoon, not due to riding skill degradation, but due to cognitive system fatigue. Executive function research shows us that decision-making quality deteriorates with sustained cognitive load. Every training decision, when to push, when to reward, when to change exercises, how to modify for each horse's needs, draws from the same finite cognitive resources. Professional trainers make hundreds of training decisions per day, each requiring working memory access, situational assessment, and strategic planning. Research indicates that as these resources deplete, decision quality shifts toward simpler, more automatic responses. This might mean reverting to familiar exercises rather than addressing specific training needs or missing opportunities for breakthrough moments because the cognitive capacity for creative problem solving is exhausted. Here's where scheduling becomes critical. Research on dose-response relationships shows a curvilinear pattern. Moderate numbers of high-complexity sessions optimize executive function, working memory, and movement quality, while excessive daily sessions lead to cognitive and motor decrements due to fatigue and resource depletion. Studies suggest that 30 to 45-minute sessions, 3 to 5 times per week, optimize executive function, but beyond 60 minutes per session or excessive frequency, we see diminishing returns or even performance decrements. Most concerning is how different scheduling approaches affect safety and learning. Research comparing alternating load schedules, where high demand sessions are followed by moderate demand ones, versus clustered intensity schedules, shows clear differences. Alternating load schedules generally support better learning retention and help sustain late day performance, while clustered intensity increases risk for errors and fatigue. The alternating approach helps manage cognitive overload by distributing load and reducing the cumulative fatigue that leads to late day safety incidents. Yet most training barns operate on clustered intensity models, multiple difficult horses back to back, then easier horses later. This is exactly backwards from what the research suggests for optimal safety and learning outcomes. Cognitive motor interference research shows us that high cognitive load affects motor performance through increased muscle tension, reduced movement fluency, and altered coordination patterns. For trainers, this isn't just about riding quality, it's about injury risk. As cognitive resources deplete throughout the day, the automatic motor programs that keep riders balanced and safe become less efficient. Research shows that under cognitive load, people prioritize cognitive tasks over motor tasks, except when safety is threatened. This means a fatigued trainer might not maintain optimal position or respond as quickly to unexpected horse behavior. The postural control systems that maintain rider balance and stability require attention resources. When those resources are depleted by sustained cognitive demands, physical stability degrades. This creates a compound risk where both cognitive decision making and physical safety systems are compromised simultaneously. Research on bilateral coordination shows that complex motor training enhances neuroplasticity and strengthens interhemispheric communication. In theory, professional trainers should be developing superior cognitive abilities through constant practice. However, neuroplasticity requires appropriate challenge levels within the optimal learning zone. When cognitive load exceeds this zone, which research suggests happens consistently for trainers managing multiple complex rides daily, the brain shifts into survival mode rather than learning mode. Instead of building stronger neural connections, the system may develop compensatory patterns that prioritize short term function over long term adaptation. Research on motor imagery shows us that combining mental rehearsal with physical practice yields optimal results. Trainers rarely have time for mental preparation between horses, missing opportunities for the motor imagery benefits that could enhance both skill development and cognitive recovery. Performance pressure research reveals that optimal performance requires managing arousal levels appropriately for each task. Different horses require different energy levels. A sensitive horse needs calm, quiet aids, while a lazy horse needs more activation. This constant arousal regulation throughout the day taxes the autonomic nervous system. Research shows that elite athletes develop stable neural strategies for managing pressure, but this assumes adequate recovery periods. Trainers must shift arousal levels multiple times per day without sufficient time for nervous system reset. This creates chronic dysregulation that affects both immediate performance and long term health. What does this look like in practice? By mid afternoon, a trainer who started the day with sharp attention, creative problem solving, and intuitive horse communication may find themselves going through motions. The sophisticated error monitoring that caught subtle training opportunities in the morning gives way to basic pattern repetition. Safety margins decrease as both cognitive and motor systems operate with reduced capacity. The working memory that effortlessly managed complex training sequences begins dropping elements. The executive function that adapted training methods to individual horses defaults to more rigid approaches. Most concerning, many trainers don't recognize these changes as cognitive load effects. They might interpret decreased effectiveness as personal failing, horse difficulty, or simply having an off day. Research shows us these are predictable neurological consequences of sustained cognitive demand exceeding human capacity. The equestrian industry operates on models that assume human cognitive resources are unlimited. Full training schedules, back to back lessons, and intensive show preparation ignore the research evidence about cognitive load limits. We expect trainers to maintain peak performance across cognitive demands that would overwhelm professionals in other fields. Unlike other precision sports where athletes perform for limited periods with substantial recovery, professional trainers sustain peak cognitive motor performance for 8 to 10 hours daily. No other athletic discipline demands this duration of complex cognitive engagement without acknowledgement of the neurological costs. Research on neural efficiency shows that even elite performers have limits. The cognitive training benefits that make great trainers also make them vulnerable to the effects we've described, because their expertise relies on precisely the systems most affected by sustained cognitive load. Understanding this isn't about limiting training or reducing standards. It's about recognizing that cognitive load is a real, measurable factor affecting both training quality and trainer well being. The research provides a framework for understanding why even excellent professionals have performance fluctuations throughout the day and why sustainable training practices matter for long term success. The good news is that research also points towards solutions. Structured micro recovery protocols, such as slow breathing, quiet gaze stabilization, or light walking between horses, can help restore cognitive resources. Short breaks of 2 to 5 minutes can return individuals to baseline levels of psychological resources after demanding tasks. These micro breaks reduce the accumulation of mental fatigue and help sustain attention throughout the day. Sleep strategies also matter enormously. Consistent nightly sleep of 7 to 9 hours, sleep timing aligned with circadian rhythms, and well timed strategic naps together best protect high skill professionals from decision fatigue and attention lapses. Arousal regulation training, such as heart rate variability, biofeedback, and slow paced breathing, can reduce sympathetic overactivation and help maintain fine motor control late in the day. Field friendly metrics like heart rate variability, movement smoothness tracking through wearables, and even voice stress monitoring can provide early detection of performance drops before they become dangerous. These technologies are becoming increasingly accessible and could revolutionize how we monitor trainer well being and safety. Professional trainers deserve recognition that they're performing cognitive athletics at the highest level, day after day. The research shows us this comes with real neurological demands that the industry needs to acknowledge and address. That's the cognitive reality facing our professional trainers. Next episode, we'll explore evidence based strategies for managing these effects and maintaining both performance quality and trainer well being within the demands of professional training. This has been Strides to Solutions. I'm Esther Adams. Remember, understanding the science helps us work smarter, not just harder.